Hey everyone, it's Dr. H, your friendly working back at the Air Command and Staff College. I'm here to talk about how to read a naval map. This is one of the things you're going to need to know, and we're going to look at the most complicated one to look at, to understand. There are naval maps. This is the Pacific naval map. It's important for Vietnam, for Korea, for Taiwan. There's a naval map that goes along with Poland. We'll talk about that when we talk specifically about Poland. There is a naval map that goes along with Iran, and we'll talk about that specifically when we get to Iran. So, let's talk a little bit about the map itself here that's available for the Pacific. And there's a lot going on here. Let's start with the basics. So, the naval map is divided up, as you can see, into into zones, right? And these zones have white borders, and these will control air movement and naval movement. We'll talk about that more in its own specific time. This is just an information about how to read the map. So there are bases, right? There are a variety of holding places like the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, China, Japan, so forth, that refer to some pretty specific holding boxes. Those can be referred to naval ports, land bases, whole large areas that are not depicted as part of this map or as part of any operational map. Then you have inside some zones you have this. You have inshore boxes and you have land areas. These land areas represent a number of small islands or number of small areas specifically. You can fight over them by putting forces there. You can move forces there. You can move them with naval movement, right? You can put them on board amphibs and sail them in there, right? Move through the inshore boxes to the land and then deposit forces on the land areas. You can, some of these you can move by heliborne, so you'll notice that some of these have arrows pointing to them, and those arrows are connected back to helicopters. If you originate in the hex row depicted in the helicopter box here on the Taiwan map, or if you start in the boxes that are labeled with helicopters on them, you can follow those arrows to those land areas. So for example, if I'm in China, right, I see I've got a helicopter picture here and the arrows go to Taiwan, right? So I can execute air mobile movement and land in Taiwan. I can land at the Pinghues. I can land in the Paracels. I can land on the operational map in Vietnam using air mobile movement. If I'm in Vietnam, for example, I can land in the Paracels and I can land in the Spratlys via air mobile movement. If I'm on the island of Taiwan, right, I can move. If I'm at certain hex sites, I can fly all the way to the Philippines, or I can fly out to Pinghu, or I can fly to the Senkakus, right? So these arrows with helicopters tell you where you can go. If it has a parachute on it, you can parachute onto it too. So the Pinghu Islands are open to a lot of movement possibilities to consider with the Pinghu Islands, I should say. So some sea zones had these inshore boxes, and they represent the ability to conduct amphibious assaults into various land areas, Then we'll talk about control when we talk about control. Some of them have this dark red cruise missile. They're in cruise missile range of the mainland of the PRC, and the PRC can use cruise missiles at various times to affect certain things, to affect naval movement and to affect sea control. We'll talk about that in its appropriate time. And also, you see this nice little radar picture, and then it has red numbers and it has blue numbers, and that affects naval detection, which we'll also talk about in its due time. But that's just to sort of let you know that these things exist and where they are. So this is basically how to read the map, right? This is a basic orientation of the map. We're going to talk in more detail about control and detection in its own video. So stay tuned for that. This is just about how to read the map. So hopefully that's helped you understand the map and prepare to read the map. We are soon going to talk about control, so I'll see you there.